Some betrayals don't come from strangers. They come from the people who promised to protect your family. Some people mistake kindness for weakness. And sometimes, karma arrives wearing combat boots. This is the story of a retired Navy SEAL who spent 20 years protecting his country. After retirement, he wanted nothing more than a peaceful life with his daughter. He never imagined the greatest battle of his life would begin inside her own home. Watch until the very end, because this emotional story proves one powerful truth. Never underestimate a quiet man whose only mission left is protecting his child. For 30 years, my name had appeared on military records that officially didn't exist. Missions across deserts. Operations deep behind enemy lines. Hostage rescues no newspaper was ever allowed to report. By the time I retired from the Navy SEALs, I had earned enough medals to fill a drawer, but none of them mattered anymore. The only title I cared about was Dad. My daughter Emily was born while I was deployed overseas. I missed her first birthday, her first steps, her first words. Every time I came home, she looked taller. I promised myself one thing. When my service ends, I'll never leave her again. I kept that promise. I bought a small cabin outside Cedar Creek. I repaired fishing boats, grew vegetables, fed stray dogs. The town knew me only as Arthur Collins, an old widower who smiled a lot and walked with a slight limp. Nobody knew who I used to be, especially my daughter's husband, Ryan. Ryan looked successful. Tailored suits, luxury SUV, perfect smile, church every Sunday. Everyone admired him. Everyone, except me. Years of military training teach you one thing. A smile can lie. Eyes rarely do. Ryan's eyes never smiled. Still, Emily insisted. Dad, he's wonderful. If she loved him, I accepted him. At the wedding, Ryan laughed with his friends. My father-in-law is harmless. Sweet old guy. I'll probably have to take care of him someday. They all laughed. I simply smiled. He had no idea the old man he mocked had survived situations he couldn't imagine. Months passed. Emily visited less often. Her phone calls became shorter. Whenever I asked if everything was all right, she answered too quickly. I'm fine. No daughter says those words like that unless she isn't. One afternoon, she hugged me longer than usual. As she walked away, she squeezed my hand 3 times. Paused. Then squeezed twice. 3. Pause. 2. Very few people would notice. I did. Years ago, when Emily was 12, I had taught her a secret distress signal. If she could never speak freely, 3 squeezes. Pause. 2 squeezes. It meant, help me. I'm not safe. She never forgot it. Neither did I. That evening I called. Ryan answered. She's sleeping. Something about his voice felt rehearsed. The next morning, Emily sent only one message. Love you, Dad. Nothing unusual. Except, the letter L was missing. She never misspelled love. It was our second emergency code. She wasn't alone. Someone was watching. I drove to their house. Ryan met me outside. Emily isn't feeling well. I'll check on her. No. His smile disappeared. I said she's resting. The front door opened for 1 second. I caught a glimpse. Emily. Bruises beneath makeup. Fear in her eyes. Then, the door slammed shut. That was enough. I didn't attack Ryan. Not yet. Real warriors never fight angry. They fight prepared. For the next 72 hours, I became the man I used to be. I quietly observed, documented, recorded, neighbors, security cameras, financial records, property ownership, phone activity. I discovered everything. Ryan wasn't just abusive. He was stealing Emily's inheritance, using fake signatures, running financial scams through shell companies, and planning to disappear with millions, leaving Emily responsible for every crime. Betrayal had become his business. I contacted an old teammate, then another. Retirement had changed our hair, not our loyalty. Within 48 hours, every piece of evidence sat inside multiple encrypted drives. The local sheriff, federal investigators, financial crimes division. Everyone received copies. Ryan never saw it coming. Meanwhile, Emily believed no one could save her. Ryan had convinced her. No one will believe you. Your father is just an old man. You have nobody. Those words became his biggest mistake. Friday evening, Ryan hosted an expensive dinner for investors. He wanted everyone to believe he was a successful businessman. Halfway through the meal, police vehicles quietly surrounded the property. Federal agents entered. Nobody shouted. Nobody panicked. They simply handed Ryan a warrant. Fraud. money laundering, forgery, domestic violence, tax crimes, attempted financial theft. The smile disappeared from his face. He looked toward Emily, expecting fear. Instead, she looked toward me, standing silently near the doorway. For the first time in months, she smiled. Ryan screamed, "You did this." I answered calmly, "No, you did. Every lie, every bruise, every betrayal. You built this ending yourself." As officers escorted him outside, he tried one last threat. "You'll regret this." One FBI agent laughed softly. "I don't think you understand who her father is." Ryan frowned. "What?" The agent smiled. "You spent 2 years insulting a retired Navy SEAL." Ryan's face turned completely white. The realization arrived too late. The harmless old father-in-law had quietly dismantled his entire world without throwing a single punch. Months later, Emily rebuilt her life. She opened a counseling center for survivors of domestic abuse, helping women who once believed they had no escape. Every wall carried one sentence: "Your silence is not your weakness." I spent my mornings fishing again, walking slower than before, feeding the neighborhood dogs. Most people still believed I was just another retired old man. I preferred it that way, because strength doesn't need an audience. One afternoon, Emily asked, "Dad, why didn't you tell Ryan who you really were?" I smiled. "Because character reveals itself when people think you have no power." If he had respected an ordinary old man, he never would have met the extraordinary one. Betrayal always believes it is smarter than honesty. Abusers believe fear will keep them safe forever. But karma is patient. It watches every lie, every stolen dollar, every cruel word. And when the time is right, it doesn't knock. It walks through the front door. Ryan lost everything he had built through deception. Emily gained her freedom. And I learned one final lesson after a lifetime of war. The greatest victory isn't defeating your enemies. It's making sure your family never has to fight alone. Because karma never forgets, and betrayal always pays the price.